Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie, Esther here, and today I want to talk to you some more about this teaser that Dead by Daylight dropped yesterday for the upcoming Tools of Torment chapter. I'm going to talk about some of the prevailing theories and some of the things that I said in my video yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume down on this. So one of the things I said was that I didn't believe that this was going to be a license chapter, because in the trademarks down here it doesn't have any trademark holders other than behavior, and people were quick to point out, well, hey, the Hellraiser trailer also didn't have any trademarks in it other than behavior, but this one is different because it says the name of the chapter here with Tools of Torment. So the Hellraiser teaser, it didn't say what the name of the chapter was. It was just a short teaser of the television. I think if you're going to show the name of your chapter and it is licensed, you're probably going to have the name of the license in the chapter. So if it was Terminator, for example, it would say Terminator in the name of the chapter. You're not going to say Tools of Torment. Everybody is going to go, oh my gosh, Terminator, because you're not going to convey that message. Same thing with FNAF. If it was FNAF, you would say Five Nights at Freddy's Tools of Torment. You would want to make it very clear that in the chapter name, these licensed characters would be in it. So I'm quite confident that this is going to be an original chapter. So one of the things that people pointed out from the paperwork on the table when I said it says Adriana Imai, was pointed out, hey, the initials for Adriana Imai is AI. So are we dealing with an artificial intelligence that was created? Perhaps the person doing the working here is the maker and the survivor of this. Let's just go with a robotic creature, or perhaps a cyborg. And maybe this is like Dead by Daylight's version of a Frankenstein story, where through some unorthodox experimentation, or in this case technology, a sentient creature is created from cobbling together parts, maybe mechanical and human, as a cyborg. I thought that was a very interesting theory with the AI, and like AI learns as it goes. So perhaps these 3 stages of the light beacon is talking about how the AI is learning and getting more powerful as the trial would go on. I really love that theory. So some other things that I've seen is people, I'm not familiar with Meet Your Maker. Some people have said that the parts that they see here really remind them of Meet Your Maker, and I can't speak to that because I have not played the game. But there was also this tweet because Meet Your Maker, Behavior's other game, had a stream yesterday, dev stream, and Dead by Daylight retweeted it and said, fun fact, did you know that senior creative director Ash used to work on Dead by Daylight? So is that something that they're doing a crossover with a Meet Your Maker killer in Dead by Daylight? I don't know. I think that they're probably just trying to pump up some interest in the Meet Your Maker stream, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is a Meet Your Maker crossover. And then a couple other things that people said to me, we talked about Auto Stamper. So when the Garden of Joy came out, we were told we'll have more contact with the Garden of Joy in future chapters. And Auto Stamper, it's in his lore, this was the Doctor's mentor, by the way, and he was also the head of the Automarians in the Garden of Joy. He was ultimately reduced to a permanent vegetative state by his protege, found in Herman Carter's office, with his head peeled open and an array of electrodes and sensors inserted into his still working but annihilated brain. Well, you know, I don't know how still working or annihilated the brain of this skull would be. This is a little more than a vegetative state with the head peeled open, but it does kind of fit the bill with the wires and electrodes sticking out of it. So could this be Auto Stamper as a killer? I don't know. I think it's a no, but it's an interesting idea. And then another thing that was presented to me was this story from Tome 10, the Saw Tome, where the Observer talks about Hattie and Jordan, and perhaps this killer is also connected to Hattie and Jordan and in their stories here. So I'll link this to down below if you want to read through all of it. But I'm not going to read all of this here today. It talks about the Chamber of Blood with this character named Mehan Singh. And basically, he's transported into the fog with a bunch of other people. I think this has to do with that group that finds the Observer's Tower. Not entirely sure. But there was a group of people who found the Observer's Tower when he was frozen, right? And so in this story about how Mehan Singh ends up in the fog with all of this group here, it talks about, let me see, if we scroll down here, the Horror here. Character named the Horror. Let's see. The Horror, here it is. Yes, the detective said, "How much time do we have before the Horror finds us?" And before he could finish his sentence, a shriek followed by a high-pitched whine startled them. A moment later, a mass of melded humanity and machine came at them. Mahan could make out several heads, all shrieking battle cries in different languages attached to a patchwork of charred scraps from missiles, tanks, fighter jets, and nuclear submarines, all bearing flags and strange logos of brands from different periods he vaguely remembered. He stared at this monstrous chimera in shock, or was it chimera, I think, in shock, and wasn't quite sure what he was looking at. The Horror, he called it. Looks more like the embodiment of war, sponsored war. Mahan swallowed, a thickness growing in his throat as the Horror rushed the stunned agent and tore his head off, swallowing the terrified face and a dripping neck like a ripe cherry. Then its ghastly mouth opened wide, and a stream of fire touched the jerking, headless corpse as it collapsed into a heap of industrial garbage. Not waiting to be next, the samurai, because this is the part of the group that was in the fog together, the samurai lunged at the monstrosity and with incredible speed and precision cut it to pieces. Then all of them watched in disbelief as the pieces of flesh and metal slowly disintegrated into the living fog. The detective sighed. "It'll be back," he said, appraising the samurai. 18th or 19th century Red Crown clan. You're not the first. We could use your skills here. So, this was their introduction to this character named the Horror, and people have said that they think that this could be the killer because of this patchwork of metal from scraps taken from all of these pieces of war. But in my opinion, I think that they encountered the Dredge. And this is talking about perhaps a skin that we might see for the Dredge in the future, just made up of military parts. Because it says here, several heads all shrieking out battle cries. It kind of sounds like the Dredge to me. If this is the character that is being shown in this here as the beginnings of a mashup of war, military stuff, it sounds too much like the Dredge to me. So I think the Horror is just what they called the Dredge because they didn't know what it was. So we might see a military tank pieces, parts Dredge in the future. I don't think that's what it is. I really like the behaviors version of the Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster story of creating an AI, cyborg or a robot, whatever it is. I think that is a really cool idea. That's what I would like to see personally. Now, one other thing that I want to touch on that was brought to my attention by one of my viewers last night. So Dead by Daylight has told us that they are squeezing in some perk changes into this chapter, which they don't normally do. They only do it on the mid chapters. Now, Eruption was one of the perks that was changed, which that's no surprise. That seemed like it was a clarion call from the community that they felt like this needed changing, and I can see how that one would be bumped into this this chapter release instead of waiting for the next mid chapter in 6 weeks after that, right? But the other perk that made the grade here was this one, the Any Means Necessary, where they buffed it so that there's no cooldown to pick up pallets. Now, my viewer pointed out, why would it be necessary to rush this perk change into the mix in time for the chapter unless somehow this is going to have synergy with the chapter in some way. Either the killer is going to have some kind of a special pallet related power that is going to make you want to use any means necessary, or the companion survivor with this chapter might have a pallet related perk that would make you want to combo it with any means necessary to synergize with whatever this pallet perk could be. Could if the killer is a cyborg or robot created by the survivor's presumably an engineer or inventor or something, what if they have the ability to repair pallets as one of their perks, and then any means necessary would also help them pick up pallets along the way? Maybe something like that. I also said, what if they're bringing a new item into the game, like some kind of a hammer, and then survivors could break breakable walls? That would be cool. So anyway, I think that there's probably something here, because it doesn't really make sense to me to rush in this any means necessary change unless it's somehow going to synergize with the upcoming chapter. So keep your eye on this. I'm predicting there is some kind of a pallet related perk coming up for either the survivor or the killer that would maybe want people to make people want to run any means necessary, and then it became necessary for them to buff the perk with whatever changes are coming. But that's pretty much the roundup of what I have for you today. My thoughts on the first day watching the community react to the Tools of Torment teaser. I really like the AI idea for Adriana Imai's initials, but we'll see where it goes, and we don't have too long to wait, because in the developer update, it confirmed that the PTV is next week. And in this here, it says we're going to find out more on the 15th. So presumably on the 15th, they're going to lay out all the characters for us. And I personally can't wait. But that's all I have for you here today. As always, thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate the time you spend here with me on my channel. And don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.